What's good, food friends? Hope y'all are doing awesome and thanks for joining me. Back with another soup recipe this week to use in our war against ultra processed and fast foods, and this one is really hearty and more of a meal than most soups. So let's get cooking and make this next level hearty turkey soup recipe. First step for making this soup is going through the fridge and seeing what vegetables I have and what I need to use up. First thing I saw was a piece of cabbage from last week's video, and I'm just going to chop this all up into small bite-sized pieces. It's about 8 ounces or so, but it's amazing how much 8 ounces of cabbage is when it's all cut up. I also had some celery that I needed to use. It's about 3 stalks worth, but I had to cut a lot off to use what was good. So that's why you're seeing 5 here. I'm dicing this small like the cabbage, just cutting it lengthwise and then across. Next, I found some green onions that weren't quite enough for a soup once I cleaned them up. So luckily I had a small wedge of red onion too. You just want about half of a normal size onion diced up really small. And this shows that you can use whatever and still make a really awesome soup. I'm dicing these smaller than everything else. The onions really just flavor and I don't want to get a big piece in a spoonful. Now I'm going to crush up about 5 cloves of garlic. You can use minced or you can grate it in like I do on my other recipes, but since I want hearty pieces of everything, I'm just going to rough cut this all up after I crush it. We're just going to add this to our bowl of all the veggies. Simple recipe so far, no staging this time. I also found a small bunch of parsley and cilantro. I've always got these around the house. This was all I had left over from previous recipes though, and I'm just going to work this till it's all well chopped, chopping it all together, and it should look like this by the end. And now that our prep's done, we can start our soup. I got my soup pot out, I got the burner turned up to medium high, and I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Once that warms up, we can add our minced or ground meat. I bought a 3-pound package of store brand ground turkey on sale. It was nothing special. You can use chicken, beef, turkey, whatever's cheapest or whatever you're in the mood for. I froze half and I'm going to use about 1.5 pounds here. We want to get this starting to fry up and we're going to season it with salt and then generous pepper. Then we're going to add a teaspoon of sage, a teaspoon of thyme, and a teaspoon of oregano. And then we're going to fry this all up and cook it through while using our spoon to break up the ground meat. We don't want to break it up too fine. We want different sized pieces. We want some large, we want some small. Now that the meat is cooked and the dried herbs are all mixed in, we're just going to turn down the heat to medium and remove all the meat. Just spoon it all out and set it aside. Don't worry about any water in the bottom of the pot because, we're making soup anyways. Then we're going to add in all our veggies and fresh herbs together. Wicked easy, like I said. And it's probably going to need about 2 tablespoons of oil to get going. And then we're going to add in a bunch more pepper, a few grinds of salt, and then we're going to add in another teaspoon of sage, thyme, oregano, also about half a teaspoon of crushed red pepper, and lastly, a big tablespoon of chicken soup powder or base. And this is why we didn't add a lot of salt. And if you're using ground beef, use beef base or beef powder. We're going to stir this all up, scraping the sides and the bottoms. And we want to cook this until it's just past sweating and the edges of the vegetables are starting to go translucent. Once we've cooked these about 5 to 7 minutes and the edges are going translucent, we add the meat back in to cool things down. We don't want our vegetables to brown. So we're going to get this back up to heat for just a minute or so with the meat in, and then we're going to add in our chicken stock. And if you use beef, beef stock. We're going to use about 4 cups worth. I also add in about 1.5 cups of water and a can of diced tomatoes with all the water drained out. We're going to stir this all up and get it back up to a simmer. And now that this has got a good simmer going, we're going to add our thickener. I used 3 tablespoons of potato starch and about half a cup of water all mixed up. And then I added half of the mixture to the pot, stir it all up and let it cook for a minute or so. Then I added the rest. We don't want this as thick as a stew, but I really, really hate thin soups. So it's nice to thicken this up a little. And this is right between a soup and stew. So I guess it's like what? Like stoop? I'm not really sure. But either way, it's really tasty. We're going to let this simmer a minute, and then we're going to turn down the heat, and we're going to simmer it covered for about 15 or 20 minutes. And you're going to open it once about halfway and give it a stir so that nothing sticks to the bottom. After 15 or 20 minutes of simmering, we can add in some frozen vegetables. I'm adding in just a 12-ounce package of those frozen mixed vegetables, and I love these things. We buy them on sale, we keep them in the freezer, and they're amazing for quick meals and soups especially. And since these were frozen, you may have to turn up the heat on your stove a little bit to like maybe medium and get this soup simmering again, because we want to let it simmer for about 5 minutes to get the frozen vegetables cooking. Then I'm going to add in some extra protein. I'm going to add in a can of kidney beans and a can of chickpeas all drained. Look how crazy thick and hearty this is all getting. We just want this to get back up to heat and simmer for another 5 minutes. Just look how beautiful this soup looks. After 5 minutes or so, we're going to add in the juice of 1 lemon. And we don't want to add in too much since we're not really adding the lemon for flavor. We're adding the acid for food chemistry and a little lightness since this is so hearty. And like now we can serve it up. This is all done. This is a soup style that I often make with ground or minced meats. It's so hearty. It's perfect for these cold winter days and nights. Meat, beans, vegetables, and a thickened broth. You can see it's not some thin soup you get from a food chain. I really hope you enjoyed this recipe and get to play around with it. It's really versatile and you can use different meats, stocks, vegetables, depending on what's on sale, what you got in the house, or what you're in the mood for. Thanks for joining me here today at Dude Talking Food. I really appreciate your time and I hope you get to try these recipes. Here's some more recipes I know y'all are going to love. Please like, comment, subscribe, share. All these help the channel grow and it gets more of my recipes out there for everyone. Keep trying to avoid those ultra-processed and fast foods, and keep being awesome, everyone. Peace.